Happy Hoodoo and Geechee Heritage Month, y'all. Hi, this is Nikki. I am the owner of Soul Things Botanica, and you are listening to the How to Be Magical podcast. And this week's episode is all about me. I'm a little late with this episode. That's fine, because it's all about me. I was going to put up one of the interviews, but being that it is the top of the month, my birthday month, and a full moon in Aries, I feel it was only fitting for me to literally take some time to dedicate an episode to myself, even in the middle of the season where I'm interviewing everybody named Mother, literally. I am so grateful to every one of you who listens and streams and shares and comments and subscribes. And I get messages from people saying that they just found it and they binging. And I am truly humbled. When I started this podcast, I just wanted to share where I was at in my spiritual journey and how I got there. I wanted to help preserve a little something, and I wanted to just throw my hat in the ring and let my New York cadence do what it do. And I'm really, happy that I did not fold on myself. And I'm really happy that I pushed forward with this podcast because I really enjoy doing it. And I love you guys. I really do. It's October. I don't know how we made it to October because I'm like, y'all listen, when the podcast started in January seems so far away now. Like, everything just feels so different. I feel like I'm a different person. Like, at the top of the year, my hair was loose, now it's locked. Top of the year, I was working crazy ass hours. Now I'm pretty much furloughed until further notice. It was just, this year was a lot of change. For myself personally, since last October, this time my life has literally, everything that the spirit said was gonna happen happened, which is pretty much what I want to talk about in this episode of, like, it's when you really getting deep into self-mastery, self-knowledge, knowledge of self. Information is one thing, application is another thing. You put those two things together and you are, moving different and responding to things differently and seeing things differently. You're not just absorbing everything that's happening to you, So for me, let me just start off with this. Last October, I went to Amisa. And I was told some very, very, I don't want to say harsh information, but I was given a stern talking to, right? And it wasn't anything that I was doing per se, but it was more so of how I was allowing myself to be, how I was perceiving myself, how I was carrying myself. They wasn't feeling it. They was like, yo, why you acting like you not this, that, and the third? And I'm like, well, and they're like, nah, I don't care. You need to celebrate yourself a lot more. You need to really celebrate yourself. And it took me a whole year for that message to really sink in, and to really cut through all of the layers of things that were holding me back, that I was holding myself back from. Not anybody else, Sometimes we can get very, I don't want to say paranoid, but a little too focused on the outside of what's happening outside. And I feel like, if anything, this year is a huge testament to, no matter what's going on outside, as long as you're good with you be all right. And that is, that takes a certain level of accountability and personal responsibility. And that is our, part of the equation, is that, it's all kinds of wild shit going on out in the street, in the world, in the media, in the news, health-wise, all kinds of things. But that can't affect your own internal structure. And that's what the Hidana told me last year. She was, and I asked her, it's so funny because spirits, they are not on our timeline. Like, they on our timeline, but not really. They got their own, they're not constrained to this, they don't have the constraints of this linear timeline like we do. So asking them certain questions is always going to be met with, like, either a scoff, like, what? or a laugh, like, girl, please. And it's just funny, you know. So I had made mention of something that I was feeling insecure about at work, and she was like, is this a new thing to you? Is this a new development? Being you? Is that new? And I'm like, no. And she's like, all right then, what are you asking me, you know? But she was very sweet about it. She hugged me and loved me up, and, you know, I had conversation with her subsequently, you know, a few more times after, and she definitely pushed me to really look at the way I was looking at myself. And, you know, I think at the core of our spiritual practices, it is a desire for advancement. It's a desire for protection. It's a desire to, you know, extract the best out of our situations, no matter what is going on. Whatever the best outcome is, that's why we do these things. And sometimes that's hard to get away from when you are dealing with your own personal visions of yourself, when you're not clear about who exactly you are and what you are doing. Your magic can get, you know, haphazard, like it can be haphazard. Your abilities can be unfocused. Like you might got the juice, but you're not channeling it in the right ways. Or you might have all of the ingredients, but your recipe is off. Like this is an intricate thing. Like when we are doing these workings, we are the most important ingredient in the whole equation. And as we change, and as we grow, and as we evolve, and as we alter and call and shed, the way that we work and the ability to do the things that we do is going to change. It is. There's no way about it. Like, there's no way around it. And I feel like sometimes our egos will trap us in patterns, holding patterns that are not allowing us to grow and elevate. And your ego is a powerful thing. You need it. You know, your ego is a necessary part of your identity, but it can't be your whole identity. You know, and you have to have the confidence and the courage to sometimes tell your ego, yo, sit down. You're doing too much. All right? We're not doing all of that. We're going to do this. And let it just talk its shit in the back. You know, that's why we meditate, right? So we can just observe the thoughts that we have, not acting on them, right? So, it's funny. So, it's Hoodoo and Geechee Heritage Month. Shout out to all the Hoodoos. Shout out to all of the Geechee Gullah descendants. I got Geechee blood. My family is from South Carolina. Sumter was popping. And one of my guides is one of my ancestral Geechees. Like, she came through, like, you belong to me. And I'm like, okay, Swamp Lady, I'm cool with you. She actually got some rabbit defrosting in the sink right now, because I want to make, you know, in honor of Hoodoo Heritage Month, I want to make a nice meal for all of my Geechee, all of the Geechees in my bloodline. And I want to just big them up because they are incredible folks. And they have been very helpful to me in, again, that shedding of the ego and getting in tune with who I really, really am. Not who... Yeah, I'm getting emotional. Gosh. Not who society says I am. Right? Who I actually am. And there's nothing that I could have asked for. There's no spell that I could have worked. There's nothing that I could have petitioned for. There's going to be as strong as what the ancestors see in me. And the same goes for you. Your vision and your perception of yourself is as high-minded as we all want to be. It's still limited. We are still constrained in this timeline. When you tap into your ancestors, when you tap into that bloodline, and you tap into all of the power of people that's before, it's like you are opening your own private library. Like when Belle discovered, when Beast gifted Belle the whole library. And she was just like looking like, oh my God, I've never seen so many books in my life. Like, that's what it feels like when you get to really tap into your ancestors and be like, I had no idea that all of this was here. This whole time, I'm walking around, looking for answers, and it was in here the whole time. How long this book been in here? That's how you start to feel like, wait a goddamn minute. And then you start to connect dots and be like, oh, that's what that means. You know, those funny dreams that you may have, or those weird visions that you may have, or those the attraction to certain little objects and animals, and just all of those little things start to just like, the picture of who you really are starts to get more clear. And then when you realize that who society told you are and how you should be don't have nothing to do with who you actually are, you start moving a little different, you know? You start embracing yourself more. You start to truly fall in love with who you are. That shit is powerful. So that's why last year that he thought it was like, yo, like, I don't like how you not loving on yourself all the way. Like, I don't like this halfway love thing. I don't like that. What's up with that? You know you know what you, I mean, she literally spun me in a circle, was like, have you looked at yourself? Do you know who you are? You look, why are you acting like you're not the shit? And I was just very like taken aback, because, you know, that talk of ego, you know, it's like, it's one thing to be like, to quantify, you know, all of the things that society says makes you agreeable and desirable, and to wear that as what makes you, you know, worthy. But like, as you know, Mos Def says, or his intro of Black on Both Sides and Fear Not of Men, he says, you know, how do people know when they're valuable? He said, people know when they're valuable not because they have a whole lot of money or because somebody think they sexy, but because they was created by God, and God makes you valuable. That is some powerful shit. That's real though. This also goes into, all right, so I'm gonna share the next time, another Misa that I went to, another spirit came down and looked me square in my eye, and said, you know, you're a star. You know that? And I'm like, what? And he said, your hands. He made me hold my hands out. He took my hands in his hands. He said, your hands are blessed by a zombie. My God, your hands are black. Like, you're black. Like, what the? He's like, he's just looking at me like, I don't know what's up, child, but we gonna get you together. And that's why when we embracing our traditions and our paths, you know, it is important that we realize that we need the guidance of elders, because while we all are tapping in, we still have blind spots. We still have, you know, things that we can't see all the way. And to be fair, that's okay. You know, your elders want you to explore and research and do all of the work. But when you start hitting walls, when you start getting to the place where you're like, I don't know why this thing's not working out for me. I don't know why. I don't know why I can't get past this thing. I got this block. That's when the elders step in. That's when the community steps in. And it's like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? Maybe we could do, it's literally like being at the doctor, you know? If you could take care of yourself only but so much. Your dad could only take care of you, but for, like, they will protect you, but you still have to, when you need to advance, you need that guidance, and you need that little shake up to kind of remind you that this is a lifelong process. You're going to be getting it, you know, pulling yourself together and learning something new every day, Lord willing, to the day you die. Even and even on the other side, you're going to be learning something else. And then if you decide to come back, you're going to start the whole shit all over again. So it's like, this is a constant shedding and growing, and the shedding and the growing and the shedding and the growing. Every year, you're going to feel like a whole new person. You know, you're going to feel more refined. You're going to feel more settled about certain things. You're not going to respond to things the same way, you know? And, yeah, like learning about certain spirits in my spiritual frame, you know, my spiritual court, made me understand myself a lot more. You know, it made me respect myself a lot more, right? It made me look at things from their perspective. Like, why would they want to fuck with me, right? It can't just be that, oh, I was just assigned or they picked. It has to be that I made an agreement too. That I agreed to all of this, to live this life. I agreed to this, you know? So I got to hold up my end of the bargain. If the shit is getting rough, I got to keep reminding myself that I agreed to this. I already know these people. And getting reacquainted with them, that's my responsibility because we all here with each other. So I'm going to do that. And I have never felt so much peace in my life. I'm not even going to hold y'all. I have never felt so much peace as knowing that as long as I'm investing in myself and my dad, that I'm good. Don't matter what's going on outside. Really, that is a level of peace that ain't no prescription drug could have bought me. I'm keeping it 100. And I'm somebody who's diagnosed with depression, bipolar disorder, all these things. I ain't been on no medication in years. And I'm not saying this as a thing against medication, but I'm saying that when I truly made a conscious effort to put myself and my spiritual, hygiene at the highest, priority, my need for certain things subsided. My anxiety subsided. My capacity to be so depressed that I can't move subsided because it's like there was certain things that I had to be responsible for myself. I have to be responsible in charge of my emotions. I can't just say, it's a chemical imbalance. Well, if it's a chemical imbalance, then motherfucker, we scientists, we could rebalance some shit. We alchemists. We could recalibrate. It might not be as easy and quick as taking a medication and experimenting with that, but you got to experiment with that shit too. So if you're going to experiment, that was just my rationale. Like if I'm going to experiment with some medication, I might as well experiment with my own personal hygiene, spiritual hygiene, and my own mental health management. I gotta experiment. I can't just leave it on the doctor. I can't just leave it on the hospital. I can't just leave it on the pharmaceutical company. I'm here. I gotta do something. And it was not easy. I'm not gonna sit up here and bullshit y'all and say, oh my gosh, it's so easy. I just stopped taking meds and I just stopped. No. It was rough. It was an adjustment. It was rough. But some of the shit that's going down this year, I can only imagine how fucked up I would really be feeling out here if I didn't at least invest in myself. Your investment in yourself, you will never be broke, so to speak. When you choose to invest in yourself, you will always have a well that is full, a well that is, of sustenance for you. Before you start giving it out to other people, before you start running and saving everybody, before you start, mothering the world, for you, it is important that you invest and pour that love into yourself. You need it. Your ancestors need it. They can't do nothing for you if you run down. They got to spend all their energy keeping you alive and keeping you up. But when you meet them halfway, or what you perceive to be halfway, because trust me, the amount of energy and insight and just the magnitude of what they have, what's in your blood, is so strong. Don't let your ego have you thinking that you're stronger than the dead. You're not. You're not. You are but a speck. You are just another link in the chain. It is on you to not be the weak link in the chain. It is on you to respect the fact that there is people that came before you who, I guess in comparison, listen, we might be thinking that our life is hard now. We don't know hard life. For real. We don't know hard life. And I'm not saying this to diminish anybody's experience. I'm just saying that we're talking about in the time frame, in the grand scheme of things. People 50 years ago was facing harder things. People 100 years ago was facing hell. So I can't allow myself to get complacent and think that my hardships, my 2020 hardships, as hard and tough and as inconvenient as it might be, is anything to somebody's 1920 hardships or somebody's 1820 hardships. It's not. And I'm cool with that. So that means that I need to be more present in terms of acknowledging all of the things that I have that somebody before me didn't have, and how that makes me an asset to my bloodline. The fact that I'm living in the circumstance that I'm in now. It is on me to make the best of this. It is on me to ask them to guide me to the best outcomes. It is on me to maintain and be healthy in whatever health way that means. If that means investing and going back to therapy, fine. If that means, taking control of your finances, fine. If that means taking control of your nutrition, fine. If that means, whatever that means, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. But you can't improve on what you don't know. So once you get clear some level of clarity about who you are and what you're working with, good, bad, and indifferent, then you can make a plan of action that makes sense for you. And you will find that some of the things that you used to try and force on yourself, you won't even be like, that ain't even gonna work on me because I know better than that, you know? Yeah. So I did a post on the blog. It's called Urban Things. And I just wanted to share a little story because this is important that we understand that this is all a science and we are constantly in research mode as scientists, you know. But every experiment, y'all know the scientific method. Every experiment, you have your hypothesis, right? You have, you know, your method, you know, what you did, and, you know, then you have your little experiment, right? Then you go back and you check your findings, and you come to a conclusion. Like, it's a whole thing. So, I have been pushed to work herbs more. Y'all already know I love a fresh herb. I love herbs, dry, fresh. I work with herbs all the time. But one particular spirit was asking for more. They wanted a little attention. They was like, listen, I want you to come over here and sit with me and so we could work these herbs. So I said, okay, I'm going to make myself a bath. So I hadn't made myself a bath since my scratching. So I said, all right, because I was letting that settle in because that was a whole process. There was a lot of herbs and things involved with that. So I didn't want to be overzealous with the bath so quick. So I said, no, I'll wait a minute. So fine, I guess I waited long enough until she was like, hey, come over here, come sit down with me, come do these herbs with me. So I said, okay. So I pulled some herbs together, and I was just, and I didn't want, this was literally an experiment. I wanted to intuitively do it instead of how I usually am, just like, I know, you know, it's like a recipe. I know this is good for this, and this is good for that, and this. I wanted to just kind of feel it out. I wanted to freestyle a little bit. So I freestyled. I added in something that I don't usually add in. I never really, I had some hibiscus in the house, some dried hibiscus. Jamaicans, y'all might know it as sorrel, right? I said, let me just, I don't know why. I don't know what is making me reach for this sorrel. Reach for the sorrel, put it in the bath. Reach for the vervain, put it in the bath. I said, oh, let me ask my Siempre Viva, my life everlasting plant, if I could have one of these leaves. All right, cool, thank you. You know, let me go to my money plant and see what it's going to do, right? So I'm putting all of these things together. I let the bath sit overnight in front of my altar. And then I strain it. I pour it, you know, I take my shower, pour it over myself. And then I put my lights on, of course, and go to bed. That's on a Monday night. Tuesday morning, I get up. Tuesday morning, I'm in the grocery store. Well, waiting for the grocery store to open. The bougie gentrified market at that, right? So, like, it's a couple blocks away from my house, but they the only people that got my oat milk. Because I fucks with Chobani oat milk. That's my shit. So I was like, I gotta get my Chobani. So I'm walking, I'm waiting outside for the place to open. I'm like, I'm really an old lady. Some of y'all may know, I be up at like 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. That's like my time. I'll be in bed at 8 o'clock. I'm like, this is where I'm at right now. But I get to the supermarket. Y'all still know it's COVID, okay? So I got a mask on, everything. I got a mask on. I have sweatpants. I just look like I just ran to the grocery store. I don't look like much of anything. If somebody just walked past me, they wouldn't know, you know, they wouldn't think twice. I'm looking at Brie in the cheese section because I'm fake bougie. And somebody tapped me on the shoulder. It's like, hey, Nick. I was like, oh, hey, hello. And they pulled their mask down. And it's a guy that I used to go out with like 7 years ago, right? And me and this guy, we always had a nice, you know, we had a cute little time dating. But I broke things off with him because I didn't feel that he was, you know, I didn't feel that we was going to be compatible in the long, long run based on how he was doing, how I was doing. Like, I don't know. Like, you know how you just don't have no real beef with nobody. If you're just like, you're not really handling your life all the way, and I ain't trying to judge you, but that I can't be involved with you. It was one of those. Like, he never treated me bad. We never had no beef. He was always very sweet to me. He was always very nice to me. He was always very loving and affectionate, all that shit. But I was like very focused on getting my shit together, and at the time he was not. So I told him at that time, I was like, this is not gonna work out for me. And we was in our late 20s, right? This is 7 years ago. So, every so often I run into him, and he always wants to jump right back into a relationship with me, and I'm always very much pumping the brakes on that, because I'm like, I take my relationships very serious, and I like you and everything, but no. So ran into this man, exchanged numbers. He's like, when can I call you? I'm like, call me on Thursday. So Thursday he calls, we go out to eat, we talking, and here's where the experiment comes in. So those herbs, right? Let's go over the herbs that I put in this bath. Where's my notes? I got my little notebook. The herbs that I put in this bath. 7 herbs, and I always I pay attention to all this shit, the number, right? So I put 7 herbs, right? So we have hibiscus, we have money plant, like the money tree, Chinese money tree, prodigiosa, siempre viva, life everlasting, same thing. Eyebright, hyssop, rampe murala, I can never pronounce it properly, wall breaker herb, and blue vervain. Right? So let's go down the list of what all these herbs do because hilarious. So hibiscus, when I told my godfather this, he was like, oop, bloop, bloop. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why I reached for the hibiscus. I would never do that. But apparently this needed to happen. So hibiscus incites passion. Hibiscus incites passion, attracts love/lust. And is considered an aphrodisiac. So, but that's funny to me because to me, in my mind, sorrel always represents like being like as a blood cleanser, like for the physical properties, but like spiritually, I never thought about that. So funny. Then we had the money plant, which we all know is for wealth and abundance and all that. Prodigiosa, life everlasting, siempre viva, which is a plant that promotes calmness. It's a calming plant. It's you can put a leaf on the top of your head and put your scarf on, and it just keeps everything nice and cool, keeps your thoughts cool, all that shit. Eyebright. Eyebright is used to see situations clearly, to remove cloudiness and deceptiveness. Hyssop. Y'all all know, y'all should know about hyssop. All right, it's Hoodoo Heritage Month. Y'all should know about hyssop, okay? Hyssop is for purification and protection, for hex and curse breaking, right? Then we have Rampe Murala, wall breaker, which breaks down cross conditions and opens new doors. And then we have blue vervain, which is used in love spells to rekindle a dying love. Can y'all really? It gets rid of negativity as well, and it is a booster herb, so it'll amplify the power of the other herbs that are in the mix. So I inadvertently put all this shit together, and boom, a 7-year ex walks up. And the man said he was driving his car, seen me pull the car over, pull himself together, and then came and walked up on me in the grocery store. First of all, I don't know how the man see me. I had a mask on and sweatpants and a track jacket. I look like any old body. I don't know how this man see me. All right, he seen me. And he came back. But you see, I had to, like, that eyebright. That eyebright and that hyssop and that rampe murala, like that, those was not going to let this shit get too out of hand, right? So while the hibiscus wanted to be Miss Hot and Tot, wanted to be Miss Turn Up, the rest of the herbs was like, and pump your brakes. We not gonna do all of that. So ran into this man, again, it's very easy. Your ego likes comfort. It's very easy to just fall back into the patterns, fall back into whatever energies that you used to dealing with somebody on. But for some reason, I'm different, right? I'm different from the last time that he seen me. And technically, I haven't not seen him in 7 years. The last time that I seen him was literally exactly a year ago. And I was like, oh, you looking like you still, a little, but he it wasn't the same situation. He was like, had a bad accident, and he was like hurt and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. However, I can't be your nurse right now because I gotta work. So I wish you the best. I hope you heal up and all that stuff. And I'll holler at you. So a year later, here we go. And it's like, okay, again. Now this man, because of all this back and forth over the years, this man think that we are meant to be. Okay, he is convinced that this is destiny. And as much as I believe in destiny and all them things, I do believe in common sense. And I do believe in not just going with everything that comes your way, but analyzing things and like looking at things from all angles and just using some more common sense than, heart sense. Like, I can't just go with my heart all the time. I'm sorry. Like, I can't. I gotta be, smart about how I'm moving with things. I gotta be intentional about how I'm dealing with people, how I'm directing my energy, how I'm engaging with people. All of these things are important. So, like I said, this man thinks that we meant to be. And, a couple of years ago, I might have agreed with him, like, oh my gosh, what it mean? It means something. We keep running into each other and But this time I was like, listen, I ain't got time for the back and forth all these years. All right. Next thing you know, it's gonna be 10 years we doing this shit. No. And I'm always the one that is skittish about commitment. He's always the one that's pressing me for commitment, which changes the dynamic of things also. But it's important to note that at this time around, I was committed to seeing. I wanted to know. I was not gonna give it too much room to allow myself to delude myself, which is very important. It's very important when you are dealing with people or you work in certain things. You got to be open mentally to all of the possibilities of what's happening. You can't make. You can. I guess make. Educated guess about what you think is going to happen, but you got to be open to the fact that, listen, you working something, so, what's going to happen is going to happen. What's supposed to be is supposed to be. It's going to come out. And it's on you to make use of that information, and it's on you to act accordingly. You can't be like, oh my God, the universe brought this person back into my life. It must be for a reason. Yeah, there's a reason for everything. Figure it out. It ain't always all, the warm and fuzzy, happily ever after reason. I definitely believe that people are projections and mirrors of each other. And that's good, bad, and indifferent. Now, I had to really be objective about how I was looking at this whole situation. I couldn't allow my ego to be overly consumed with all the attention and the affection and all the stuff that was just rushing out of this man. Again, I had to really pump the brakes, take a step back, and really look at what am I looking at? What is it really that I'm looking at? That's that eye bright. Like, I want to know what is going on. Like, what am I really looking at? And I want to look at it from a safe distance. Hiss up, okay? I want to look at it and I don't want to act in the same ways that I've acted before in the past. Rampe Mirala, right? Wall breaker. I don't want to, I want that feeling there, but I don't want it to be overpowered by it. And I want to be able to really keep my mind clear and move forward with intention. So that's what I did. And usually on dates, I'm very talkative. If I like you, I'm not a person that could fake liking people. Either I like you or I don't like you. And, especially somebody that I've already had something with, you have that natural chemistry, right? You feel easy around them. But when you're trying to get something different, you got to act different. So I listened twice as much as I spoke. And I just let this man talk, right? I just let him talk. And boy, oh boy, did he talk. And then I was like, okay, I was still feeling a little, it was just the first time I had seen him in a long time. So I was like, okay. And I came home and I thought about, what he talked about, and I thought about how I was feeling, and I thought about what happened, and I thought. And then I was like, all right, let me pull some cards and ask the people. Because I was like, what do y'all want me to, what do y'all think about what's happening? Pull the cards. I'm looking at the cards. I'm like, all right, the moon card came up. Everybody knows the moon card represents things that are hidden, but things that will be revealed over time. Just like how the moon goes through its phases. The moon is not always hidden. The moon slowly shows itself in the course of the moon cycle. So I was like, that was the outcome for the whole shit. There was other cards in there too. Nothing too alarming, but that was the outcome. And I was like, okay, duly noted. I'm keeping my eye open. So we had another date. And afterwards, he came back to my house. And first of all, I say this to say, I don't advocate bringing niggas back to your house. That's just, I already know this man. I've been intimate with this man many times. I know who this man is, okay? I would never invite no strange man back in my house. That's not how this goes. But I did this because I needed a little bit more control to extract more information. So I made sure I had my charcoal burning, and I put some garlic skins on that bitch and a little frankincense to keep it smelling sweet, not smelling like garlic in this bit. But garlic skins and charcoal will make everybody, I'm telling you, somebody, they will tell you their whole life story. They don't even know why. When I say this man sat up and tell me all in business, by the time I was finished, this man told me how much money he's making every day. This man told me he done told me about the last, how many relationships he was in. I know I had so much information to make a decision. It was like, okay. And I can't sit up here and act like he didn't just say all of this stuff. And I can't rationalize. And it is not for me to rationalize. It's not for me to egoically go in there and be like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, and I'm different. It wasn't none of that. It was no room for none of that. It was no room. There was no room. And after a while, I started to feel a little bad. But maybe I don't want to say bad, but I started to feel maybe a little sad about you asked, and you can't ignore what is being shown to you. And I think that was a great it was a great thing that happened, because typically we ask for things and then we still want to be like, I'm confused, I don't know why this is happening. And it's like you don't want to accept, you don't want to come to terms, you don't want to make a move on everything that is actually being presented to you. That's your part. There's only so much information gathering you're going to be able to do. At some point, you got to shit or get off the pot. So, definitely was able to, conclude my study. But I still had to let this man know that, hey, there's mad love here. And I respect you. And I feel respected by you. But on that same token, this is not feasible. And we're not in the same page about a lot of things that are really important, fundamental things, So while you have never mistreated me personally, it's not about that. It's about, are we compatible? And I feel right now at this time we're not. And y'all, when I say just that simple conversation, when I told you years ago, I would have been ruminating for weeks over this type of shit. Weeks. When I say weeks. It could have been the end of the month and I would have been still like, oh my gosh, I gotta. And then my ego would have still soaked up all the attention, and my ego would have still soaked up all the compliments and the dates and all of these things. But my mind already knew, my spirit already knew, And then also too, like the fact I also brought him back to the house because that's also listen, you talking a lot of big shit. It's like coming home and meet the family, right? And that was another conversation that we had. When he asked the question, he said, what's something about you that I should know that I don't? And I thought about it, and I said, well, and I gave him a very Spark Notes version of what I'm into right now and how I got here. And he was like, okay, well, my mom is into all of that. And we had a discussion about spiritual baths and all that shit, and it's like, oh wow. So that was nice. It was nice to be able to have that interaction, right? Because I don't usually, dating to me, I'm very private in terms of like dating and stuff like that. Like with men, like I tell you stuff on a need to know basis. I'm not no open book, really. But in terms of my spiritual practice and all that shit, I don't debate with men about that type of shit, because I done had bad experiences before with men trying to sit up there and they want to debate about your spiritual work like it's a philosophical. It's no debate, family. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. Like, respect it or not. Like, I'm not asking you to, I'm like asking for permission to do me. So it was nice to have that conversation and have it go smoothly, right? So I have that little practice run in my head of like what it would feel like again when somebody has questions about, a part of my life that I don't readily share. And then it was also good to be able to not in a not nasty way establish a boundary and be transparent with somebody and, not have this whole long drawn out argument it was that I needed both of those things. I also needed a little attention, and a little, conversation, a little razzle dazzle. I needed that, right? But does that mean that it was for, this is the forever? Nah. And it's also good too to see like, so I don't bring people to the house like that. So whatever, nothing weird happened, right? And I've had situations where people that come to the house ain't supposed to be here and something a little strange happens. That wasn't the case this time. This was more of all right, you're a big girl. We're going to let you know what to do. You know better. So we're going to watch and see how you handle the situation. And I feel like I passed the test. I hope I passed the test. I feel like I passed the test. This is pass or fail. It's like, I don't think I need to like pass with flying colors. You can struggle a little bit, but yeah, I feel like that was a whole test. From the bath to the 7-day, whirlwind romance to the breakup, right? And the closure and back here to square one. That 1 week process, I'm telling you, that shit a couple of years ago, it would be 6 months later and I would still be like, I don't know why I'm still dealing with this man. Not being willing to speak up for myself, not being willing to assert myself, not showing up for myself, just going along with anything that's coming. Nah, you gotta stand up for yourself. So, to segue into some things that I got going on this month, speaking of not speaking up for yourself and all that stuff, I was gifted a set of womb beads by my madama, Treasure, of Wombs of Wealth, and Becoming a Botanica. And she had made me womb beads last year, and they popped, which is fine because beads pop. But when she does a consultation and the reading and all that stuff, when she did my consultation and did my reading, she was like, I need you to focus more on your throat chakra and speaking your truth, right? And you need to focus on that. You gotta speak up for yourself, And she was right. So the beads that she made for me are directly, goes with this bath too. She used blue apatite. Blue apatite is used for personal power to achieve goals, clears confusion, apathy or negativity. It's the stone of manifestation. Has a cleansing influence on the aura and the mental body, which is your psychic perception, your paranormal abilities. And it's a dream stone for creative problem solving. It enhances speech and group communication. It is associated also with the throat chakra and the third eye, and improves concentration and memory. Right? So she put blue apatite on my band. She also put Larimar on my band, which is is also associated with the throat chakra, and it guides excessive passion into peace. It's used for enhancing and protecting the voice. It's an excellent stone for finding a soulmate. Facilitates the healing of unresolved issues, fears, traumas related to the heart. And then she also put bloodstone, which is a very powerful healing stone, which heightens intuition, and hematite, which is a grounding stone, and it just balances everything out. So that is the band that was gifted to me. And I was just like, I literally just got my band, and I'm like, wow, like everything is in divine time, because I could only imagine if I had the band at the same time as I did the bath and ran into this man again, that would have thrown the experiment off. It would have added too much of so it's like it would have made that whole experiment would have been too charged up. It would have been it could have been traumatic, The herbs did their thing and I had to do my thing, and now I get to reset and recalibrate and put intention on my beads based on this last little experiment. That's some wild shit to me. I love it. When I say I'm here for divine timing, I am here for divine timing, because just the fact that the stones that she picked for me almost go hand in hand with the herbs that I use in the bath. That shit is wild. I was like, wow, man, we ain't playing that. But that's just divine alignment. That's just divine timing. And I also have something for you guys, all of the dreamers out there. You know, she made me this band, but I had commissioned her to make some anklets, or it could be used as bracelets too. But I prefer them. I would prefer to see how people, you know, use them as anklets, because when you're dreaming and you're astral traveling, you want something to ground you. And I always think about the left foot. Like for me, when I think of grounding, I always think about my left foot. That's always I don't know why. That's just what I think about. And I have, 6, because I'm going to take one. I have, 5, because I already promised one to somebody. I have 5 bands. I have 5 dream bands, which are different, you know, they're different variations of blues and whites, and they have hematite and blue apatite on them, and I'm going to post pictures of them on the blog, and I'm going to do a birthday bundle, a dream bundle, of where you get a band, a dream journal, like a full dream journal, because y'all seen the little zine dream journals that I did, but I got full-size dream journals, a dream journal, a dream water, and a reading, like a consultation, so we can, you know, go over what is happening in your dream life, if I'm allowed to see that, because, you know, it's only based on what I'm allowed to see. But yeah, these, I'm going to be selling those bundles for $111. So for $111, you'll get beautiful, one-of-a-kind anklet to assist you and ground you during your astral travels. You'll get a dream water packed full of herbs and all the good things that you need to protect you and give you a little enhancement while you are astral traveling. You'll get a dream journal to document your experiences, and you will get a reading, a 30-minute reading with me. And yeah, I feel like that's fair for $111, right? Like, that's a nice little package. I'll also have the dream journals available, just if you just want a dream journal. I'll have the waters available if you just want a water. But the bands, I don't feel like it's responsible to sell a band with this little power and don't give you some other support tools to help you, you know, make sense of what's going to be happening to you while you are astral traveling with this band. So I feel like it's important. A little important part of dream work is to stay protected. So thank you so much, Treasure, for making these beautiful bands. I'm going to take pictures of them for y'all. They look really, really nice. One of them, like I said, one is for me, and one is already gifted to somebody, because I made promises and I do keep my word. So I just, I think this is a nice way to end I think this is a nice way to end the episode, because I'm just really, I don't know. I'm always in awe of the process. I'm always in awe. I'm just like, I stay curious. I'm always in awe of how things are going to move. I'm always in awe of, you know, exploring the boundaries of my personal power and my personhood. And I feel like this, you know, experiment with this man, again, you can feel love for people, you know, and that does not mean that you are meant to be with them forever and a day. You can cross paths with people all the way into the day you die. That does not mean that they are the one that got, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's like, I feel like sometimes we put so much stock into happenstance and we don't put any stock into what we contribute or what we bring to a situation. And that can be a little dangerous, you know? So like I said, I didn't allow my ego to dictate how this was going to go, because I couldn't, I had more tools available to me than just my feelings and my ego. I had to pull a card. I used herbs. I used smoke cleansing. I did all of these different things. I just sat back and observed. I listened. Like, you know, I didn't push any narrative. I didn't push any outcome. I didn't try to sway the experiment one way or another. That would make me an unethical scientist. I couldn't just make this man be what I wanted him to be. I had to look at him and what he really is. And this is not to judge him, because that trust me, in talking with this man, it was the mirror that I needed to see the crazy shit that's going on in my life, which is not crazy. You know, like, in retrospect, it's not crazy, but it just shone a light back into the areas in which I need to tighten up my shit and clean up my act. Thank you. I needed that, right? I didn't feel that still doesn't mean that I have to give this person wiggle room in my life. No, that also doesn't mean I don't need to slam the door in their face and be nasty about it either. No, I usually just block and move on, but it was like, no, this is something that needed to be addressed. There is no reason to not speak up and voice your boundaries. There's no reason to not be realistic about what a situation could bring to you without imposing so much of your own ego and your own will, which I'm sure we've all done that in the past. And it's like, when you move from more than ego, you start to move different and you feel different about things, and you don't question yourself as much because you're not doing things to get something. You're just working with what's there. And I think at the heart of all of it, that is what hoodoo is all about. It's like, I want to extract the best possible outcome. But I'm not going to just force, whatever. Most hoodoos were and are God-fearing people. Some of them were staunch Christians. They did not feel that their power was something that they could just use it willy-nilly. There was control, there was checks and balances. They had to ask, they had to petition, they had to pray, they had to meditate, they had to do a lot of things. And then they got to do the work. If only if it was acceptable, only if it was allowed. So yeah, Miss Mom, Miss T, my herb queen, she was like, I need you to work with these herbs. I had no idea why I was touching hibiscus. And then a day later, it was like, oh. And then it was like, oh, okay. That's powerful stuff. When you tapping into the people that came before you and what they can see, you start to look at yourself differently. You start to move differently. You start to embrace those differences. And it builds up your confidence. So this was a confidence boosting week, I would tell you that. It was a little sad, it was a little bittersweet, but hey, you gotta see meet people where they're at. And if they're not where you want them to be, where you feel that don't try and change anybody. The only thing that you could change in a situation is yourself. And the only person that you need to be really considering and making serious investments in as a single person is yourself and your community. But I mean, really make investments and fortify yourself, because you're still a chain in your own link, and you still have your own story, and you still have your own journey that needs to be completed. And you always going to need something on your journey. So whether that's a bit of advice, whether that's a bit of guidance, whether that's peace of mind, whether that's health of mind and body, whether that's strength to go the journey, there's always something that you could do for yourself to fortify yourself and remind you that at the end of the day, your spirits walk with you, and they're here to help you achieve your highest destiny and your highest good. And if somebody or something is not in line with that, it's not on you to cling to it or force it. It's on you to make peace with it. Make peace with that situation and make peace with yourself. And at the end of the day, you are here because you chose to be here in this time, and you have everything that you need to succeed in this timeline. And that's it, y'all. I'm crying again because I'm a fucking sap. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the How to Be Magical podcast. My name is Nikki Buchanan. I'm the owner of Soul Things Botanica. You can find me online at soulthingsbotanica.com. You can find me on Facebook at Soul Things Botanica. You can find me on Instagram at Soul Things BK. This episode, I'm just calling it I Am, because it's like I'm feeling like Hippolyta from Lovecraft Country right now. And all of y'all, I feel like I should do an episode about Lovecraft Country. But if y'all want me to do an episode about Lovecraft Country, let me know. Leave me a comment. And that's it. The next episode for next week, we're gonna be talking with Chade Oyaniun. She is a doula and a priestess of Oya and an avid dreamer. And we're going to be talking about dreams and astral travel and egg bay and spiritual families. And that is going to be next Thursday the 8th. Yep, that's going to be the episode that airs next. So this episode is all about me. And my birthday's on the 17th. And I want to have these dream anklets and the dream bundle packages are going to be up sometime next week. So stay tuned for that as well. And thank you so much. I love all of y'all. As you know, just keep it beautiful, keep it black, stay blessed, and happy Hoodoo Heritage Month. Happy Geechee Heritage Month. Shout out to all of the Geechee Gullah people. Shout out to all of the Hoodoos. And big up to the ancestors for bringing us this far, because God knows we need y'all and y'all need us, and we in this together. All right? I love y'all so much. Bye.